What's up, guys? I'm not sure if anybody else is joining us, but we're going to get started just because we have a couple pairs that we're going to look at anyways. So EU, I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going on for the time being. Not, yeah, definitely not thinking we're going to be seeing any sort of higher prices right this second. I mean, anything's possible, but just looking at the daily right now, I mean, ideally, we'd like to see break of the lows at some point, possibly move back in, look for some sells, but get on to sort of the 4 hour sitting. Yeah, so we're starting to come into that higher time frame flip zone that we were sort of talking about. Now we could start seeing something along the lines of potentially strong lows starting to form, and we could start playing this against the 4 hour, potentially, depending on, yeah, of course, the confirmations. So start to eye out for that. Obviously, tomorrow we'll be able to just have a better idea of what it's trying to do. I mean, it's kind of at that do or die area for flip. Sorry, the 4 hour flip zone. Just started to tap into it. So could see something along the lines of pullback, push down, and then potentially start moving this way into potentially here, possibly even going higher into here, or just rolling over altogether. So that's it for you. We'll have to kind of reevaluate tomorrow, once we get through our first Asia session. Let's go over to GU. Yeah, I mean, this might be tricky. Really, the only area that I'd be wanting to trade from on GU personally would be if we got like a sharp push to kind of liquidate all of this stuff and then essentially push our way down. That's not necessarily going to happen, but that's kind of like my optimal area to start looking for potential higher time frame sells. Getting over into gold. Let's go out to the daily. Sorry. I failed to take the high previously, right? So coming back into sort of like this supply, we've liquidated, we've created liquidity underneath this low. Yeah, I have a funny feeling we're going to see some cool down in price sort of happening just above this area. possibly a little bit higher, but in and around this region. And then potentially seeing a half decent drive down. You have to remember that this entire candle is fueled by in a liquid market by I believe News Trigger. So not a whole lot of money holding that move there. It's just a very illiquid move that moved price very quickly. So I'm thinking that we could potentially see a rollover. So the area that I'm kind of watching is just kind of how we break around this high and how order flow starts to potentially shift into sort of like that sell bias if and when it obviously presents itself. You can see like this is the actual flip zone. We're starting to react to it now. Finally, we get the initial tap in, tap, liquidate, fail to take the low, create liquidity, come down, break the high, and it looks like we should potentially start to see some downside pressure. And last but not least, we're on GJ. We're basically reacting to this larger supply range over here. We've literally just made a run on the high. It's just a very, very poor break. There wasn't a lot of liquidity to go after. It looks like, yeah, we're going to start to see some lower pricing. I would say, you know, looking at lower time frames, we might be able to pick out some sort of like a POI here. But ideally, what I'm going to be looking for is something once we basically start pulling back into, you know, the more premium areas of the leg. Ideally, we're going to see some sort of a run on liquidity come up, take it, come down, and then we can start to reevaluate if and when it happens. But until, yeah, we get some sort of criteria for ourselves to come up into a premium, create a sweeping POI, there's really nothing to look at on GJ other than chasing this thing down and obviously having order flow kind of move against you. So yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at for this week. So to just kind of recap super quickly, GJ, I have a sell bias. Gold, I'm definitely favoring sells as well. I think that it would be more reasonable to kind of see a rollover from here potentially. Again, just kind of what I'm looking at right this second. Just going to have to watch to see how it develops in order to kind of confirm that that sell bias. EU kind of sitting at a do or die flip zone right now. It's hard to say. It doesn't look like it's going to do too much. But yeah, we'll have to see how it starts playing. And if we start developing some bullish order flow, we can start to get involved and take this into potentially a weak high and come deeper into you know, this actual POI up here. GJ, or sorry, GU, same thing. You know, we're kind of coming down into this demand zone. It's unmitigated. I would love to see this come up and liquidate all of this stuff, very similar to what we saw in EU last week, and then kind of drop like a bag of bricks. So we're looking for bullish order flow to start sort of forming here. If I mean, this could very easily just drop right through these lows as well. But if we start to develop bullish order flow, we can probably get criteria to take this into this region at least, and then look for the higher time frame sells. So those are kind of my setups for this week. I'm going to be putting in my alerts, and I'll be going over them again tomorrow once we do the trade recap and kind of see how we've developed over the course of Asia, and start making some decisions on whether or not our bias is correct, and then start to tailor it based off of how Asia slings us into London for tomorrow morning. So that's it for today, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Tomorrow around noon to be able to start talking about what became available from Asia going into London and London going into New York.